We're going to keep this train rolling of this 12-part series, and the next month that we're covering in today's episode is March. So let's march on through, shall we?
The Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. But bear in mind, the views and opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, all other state Christian school leaders, are you ready to refresh your spirit and renew your passion? Join us at Restoration Farm for a transformative day of remembering that teamwork makes the dream work. On March 24th, we'll pray together, learn together, and grow together, connecting with fellow administrators who understand the unique calling of Christian education. Come restore your vision, strengthen your leadership, and remember why you do what you do. One day, one team, one incredible purpose. Email us with your interest at mark@christianprinciplespodcast.com.
Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
I'm Mark Zockel. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about March right now. We are in February, but we're going to talk about March because that's what we do.
In.
We're helping you look ahead. We're looking ahead. I mean, at some point, this has been good for us. I know, Matt, you said just last week that you had listened to one of our episodes and you've been encouraged to do something.
Boom. Jumped right in. Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I should do this.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to your mom. And I said, you know what?
Teresa.
It's one thing to, you talk through something and you learn something just from talking through it. But to be able to talk through it and then hear yourself or listen to yourself talking through it, like, oh, I learned something from myself today. It's an interesting thing. It's very interesting.
Not only that, but also I'm sure it has to be, not that I've ever learned anything new, but it must also be some measure of like rebuking. Oh, I did say that. Ooh, I should go do that myself. Oh, my. All right. Well, the first thing we do when we go through these months and looking ahead is we make sure that we are actually doing so by looking at what the month in general will be. And when we were talking about this, I thought about, okay, so when I think about the month of March, I think about, okay, the third quarter is well underway. Right. I'm not really focusing on the very end of the school year yet. I'm not focusing on that May, June time. I really am probably in the last full month of just, we are in the thick of it. We're past the January doldrums. Yeah. We probably have seen some events come along. This is really I don't want to say the last meat of the year because hopefully it's all good meat, but this is serious meat of the year. That's what I think of this time.
Yeah. Now, when you said when I think of this month, this is completely random, but do you associate a color with each month? Like when you hear the word March, does a color go into your head?
Not really, but I do think of like cool colors in the winter.
Well,
hot colors in the
summer.
Like
February is an easy one, right? Because you're usually associating red or pink, perhaps because of Valentine's Day, right? March for me, whenever I think of March, I think of blue. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I associate colors
That's
with
very,
months.
very interesting.
And a lot of them do end up being blue, by the way.
Isn't that what psychos
They're like
do?
Different shades of blue. What?
Isn't that what psychos do? Isn't that like
Maybe.
part and parcel of being a psycho?
I also heard that if you sometimes people that with perfect pitch like see colors when they hear sounds. So I'm not one of those people, but maybe I'm really close. I'm like right on the edge.
You're probably really, really close.
I just associate colors with words.
You're probably pretty close to being
but
crazy.
I was wondering if it was just me.
Most good school administrators probably are pretty close to being crazy. Hey, before we keep going, let's go ahead and hear from our brand partner, okay?
The Christian Principles Podcast is excited to share that we've joined the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network, a hub dedicated to advancing K-12 education and the Christian values we all share. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide, helping families and culture flourish. One of their most impactful resources for Christian school leaders like us is the Herzog Foundation Institute. This program offers fully funded training events and retreats, enabling us to sharpen our skills without adding cost to our schools. Led by national experts, these events cover essential topics like marketing, donor development, and culture building, all tailored to the unique needs of Christian schools. Held monthly in Kansas City and other locations across the country, these events equip schools and their leaders with the tools and strategies they need to thrive. Don't miss the opportunity to explore all the Herzog Foundation has to offer. Together, we can strengthen Christ-centered education. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Okay, coming back in off of our brand partner recognition, and we are thankful for them. Make sure you go and you patronize them, patronize those partners of ours. We need partner patronization coming up here, folks.
Be a patron.
Be a patron of our partners. We then jump into, of course, the anniversaries, the holidays, the celebrations of the month. Do know that overall, March is considered Women's History Month, so make sure, and especially at a Christian school setting, you probably have more females to thank for what is going on than males, most likely. Let's be honest about it. Day-to-day operations.
We all at least have one female to thank.
Right? Well, true enough, especially both of us.
Yeah.
That Teresa.
Yeah.
but past that, in my second installment, I was the only full-time male on staff. That was it. There was just Yo was the only one. But moving on, there's also Employee Appreciation Day, which is the first Friday of March. Don't kill two birds with one stone and do Women's History Month and Employee Appreciation Day the same day, but let's be aware. And of course, we have female administrators listening to this as well, so how you celebrate that, go for it.
Yeah.
Matt, you brought this to my attention.
I did. I thought this one that had your name all over it. So I just had to put it on the list.
National Dadgum Day. Well, dadgum.
Dadgum, that's good.
Dadgum.
I think it's to celebrate, like, we can finally go back outdoors and start grilling again from what I was picking up. Like woohoo, let's go.
That's going to have to be the second one of those buttons that I hit.
Yeah.
The first being huge, but not me saying huge because I can't do it.
Yeah,
so that'll be the second, but I still haven't programmed it yet, but we will at some point. What are some other ones, Matt? What will
following National Dadgum, that's good day.
Dadgum!
March 1st. March 2nd, or because this particularly pertains to schools, just the closest school day to March 2nd is Read Across America Day, which is also known as Dr. Seuss Day because of his
there you
birthday.
go.
And I know our elementary live for Dr. Seuss Day, so that's always a big one.
Which book do you usually read on that day? I had a lot of green eggs and ham requests. What do you do?
I don't know. Like variety is the spice of life for me. I mean, I love green eggs and ham because I feel like I can just rip through that book really fast.
Yeah.
Hop on Pop's another pretty popular one. Mm-hmm. Of course, The Cat in the Hat. But if I feel like if I'm going to read The Cat in the Hat, I want to play the game. Sit yourself down on a chair. It's like musical chairs. If you don't know the game, that's fun.
Oh, that's okay.
That's what I like doing.
Okay, so March 8th, one of the reasons is Women's History Month. Is March 8th is International Women's Day. Daylight Savings is the second Sunday in March. So we're going to spring that clock forward.
We love that one.
Spring it on forward.
I love that one.
There you go.
It's funny. And again, this is another thing where like I feel like every time I share that, I always love it when we get to the March go forward. Everybody's like, you're crazy. I want daylight.
Yeah,
I love the sun.
Give me more day.
Give me the sun.
I need that vitamin K. It's vitamin K, right? Isn't that what you get from the sunshine? It's vitamin K? I think so.
I don't know. I thought came in a cereal box, but that's special K. All right, all right.
No, you're special K.
Well, 3.14. Can't leave that one out, right? For all of you.
Pie Day.
Make
sure you hit
whizzes.
Pie Day. Absolutely.
Bring in some pie.
And by the way, if you're hitting your 100th day this late in the year, that's a problem.
Yeah, we should have already taken
way
care of
before
that.
This. So I was thinking about the numbers day, Pi Day. But yeah, Pi Day is a fun one. Don't miss that one. The Ides of March. I know, Matt, you came up with this one. And St. Patrick's Day right away. You knew those.
Beware the Ides of March.
Mr. Historian, you had those right on the tip of your tongue when we started this process.
Oh, yeah. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Boom.
This is when you got to keep a close eye on your secretary.
Oh, no.
On Ides of March. Yeah.
Yikes. St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th.
Yeah, 17th is Patrick of Ireland Day.
Hey, Patrick of Ireland Day.
I'll just, I
get off my
prefer
Lucky
that
Charms.
title.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful celebrate everybody's Irish heritage because
So
everybody has it.
You wear
so-
lots of orange that day. Is that right? Because
I do both. I do green, orange, both.
Okay.
Because we won't get into the history lesson.
Okay. The preschool teacher appreciation day. Another March 17th is preschool teacher appreciation day. March is chock full of ones that you might want to get a hold of and make sure you know of. At least be aware of them in case somebody else is telling you that you should be aware of them.
I thought this was funny. Like, let's put preschool teacher appreciation day on another international holiday. Like, to me, that doesn't really feel like that's a good move.
Spring, March 21st, first day of spring. And depending on where you are in the country, that could mean nothing, or that could mean an actual change of season, or it could mean nothing. But we'll see.
And the last one, I love these oddball ones.
Sure.
But March 22nd is National Goof Off Day.
National Goof Off Day. I think of the liquid that you pour on things to get. Oh, that's Goopy
That's
Gone.
Goopy Gone.
Goopy Gone.
No, Goof Off. I'm just my thing is this would be a great opportunity for an administrator to be like, you know what? Let's allow some shenanigans today.
Go crazy.
Because I think sometimes we are a little too uptight, and we wound our kids up so tight that, of course, when they misbehave, that it's gonna.
Interesting.
So let some steam off. Let them goof off a little bit, but you still need some boundaries.
That would be interesting to see what you actually let occur that day. But that would be funny. Okay, let's get into it because we got to keep rolling, or we're never going to get through all.
We got a lot to talk
9 sections. We got to do. Remember, what we're doing on these episodes is we're forecasting. We're looking ahead. We don't know it all. So talk to us. Tell us what you think should be done in March. But we're going to go through some general categories and talk about what we think should be done in March, or what we would say we have accomplished in March in the past, or what we would, the better versions of ourselves, the best version of ourselves would accomplish in March in the future. So first up, academic progress and support. You're going to want to make sure that we are monitoring student progress and providing feedback to teachers on academic and social development. We want to make sure that our teachers, and this is a general one, I get that, but it should not be not stated. We need to make sure that we are continuing to monitor student progress, especially with I know we're not focusing on the end of the year, but we're in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So if it's not happening now, it's not likely that in the fourth quarter the magic fairy dust gets sprinkled and then everybody decides they're going to start doing their work immediately. So the habits already you see set are the ones you should expect to see the rest of the school year. So allow that continuous progress measurement and assessment and the feedback which should be coming from that to be a part of the communication for all stakeholders.
Yeah, and my big thing I always communicate with my teachers is no surprises. I mean, we don't want those surprises to show up, especially at the end of the year. So this is definitely a time, if you don't have plans in place for helping those students that are behind to get caught up, or to have a plan moving into the end of the year. So
absolutely,
definitely need to have your thumb on those things.
With no surprises. That's so well said. I don't want to hear in the fourth quarter that you don't want Johnny to make it. I was on a principals forum last night, and somebody asked the question. I think it's Christian School Principals. It's a Facebook group. There's only 100 members or so jump on, make sure you're a part of that. But the question was raised. Okay, talk to me about retention. And I gave a few pointers, and the one that I walked away saying was retention has to be your last ditch, like the last ditch effort, the last thing you're going to. Unless they're super young and there's a good reason to retain them anyway, or they went into the year thinking this might be a good thing to keep them back a year anyway. Unless that's the case, retention really should be the last thing, because as we are in a consumer-driven market right now, they don't want to hear that. Maybe the parents of yesteryear wanted to hear that, but that's just not something parents today are anywhere near usually willing to hear. Past that, think non-traditional. Can we get the summertime work in? Can we get alternative work in? Can we strip it down to the baseline? Okay, they're not doing very well in art and PE. I know that's overstatement, but let's make sure that we're actually hammering on what needs to be hammered on.
Yeah, I like to. Most often, the first time I am thinking of retention is when the parents actually bring it up. Would this be something like that we should do? And even then, my initial reaction is, well, if we can avoid that,
if at all possible,
best.
Absolutely.
And unless there's a different situation where they are already younger, they were put in to kindergarten a year early or something like that.
Like we said,
okay,
yeah.
But
So the last thing for this section would be review and evaluate assessment data with staff to adjust strategies as needed, which is a long way of saying make sure that the conversations that were had maybe in the summertime or even earlier than that, the end of the previous year, are still occurring concerning the adjustments made to curriculum or lesson plans or emphasis made on certain learning objectives, so that we can see if we are actually accomplishing what it is we set out to accomplish. Because more than likely your standardized testing is coming up soon anyway, so maybe even putting an eye on that's a good idea. But Matt, move us on to planning and progress monitoring.
Yeah, so kind of hand in hand with a lot of those things, as you're reviewing, as you're monitoring, you want to make sure, while we're not necessarily focused on the end of the year, we are setting up the end of the year well.
Absolutely.
So plan and maybe begin end of year conferences with your teachers, setting up goals for your staff. I know we talked about in February about, you should have already figured out who is returning, who you're planning on not having returning, but you don't want to just leave it out with, well, they're going to finish this year and they're going to be done. You still want to have goals set for your faculty, for yourself, even for your students, but continue to identify other staffing needs. And again, to me, this is a little late.
It is. You better know by this point. At this point, you better know what maybe not what your total needs are for next year, but definitely who's coming back and who's not, and what holes you have from that. Definitely.
And the thing I thought about when we had this point in here is perhaps you've already taken care of the essentials. You have everybody in place that you need, but maybe March is going to give you a little bit of time to say, well, okay, but if I could have everything I wanted, if I could if there's a new position that we could create that could help us a little bit better, and we could fine tune that position, and then even, if we haven't already put it out there, that would be the time to make sure you've got that ball rolling. I kind of felt like I started going to New York there for a little bit. I don't know why. Get the
we can
ball
go there for
rolling.
the rest of the day. You should keep going. We like the voices.
You want to make sure that if your calendar for the rest of the year is also visible, you're highlighting different things that are coming up, especially for your faculty. I know in the fourth quarter tends to be a crazy time where we try to get a lot of things in a lot of events, a lot of traveling. So make sure everybody's got a good heads up as to what's already on the docket.
Don't add things to May or June. This the 90-day calendar, or if you adopt something like we're going to look ahead a month at a time, so we're a month out, just like we're doing with this episode, we're looking at a month ahead. If you do that with your faculty and staff, do not add things to that calendar in May, or don't let anybody else do it either. That is a big no-no.
Yep.
In my IMHO.
Well, IMHO.
Yeah.
Same for the planning purposes and progress as we are wrapping up third quarter. We're getting to the middle to the end of third quarter. There might be some needs for the fourth quarter. Make sure that we are highlighting these strengths. These this class is a little bit behind. Let's make sure we strengthen that. So for your leadership, for your staff, making sure the third quarter ends as strong as you can, but you're setting up that fourth quarter being even stronger.
All right. When we pick it up in March, we should make sure that we are preparing for our achievement testing and any assessments that are coming up. So at this point, early in March anyway, I'm imagining you've already inventoried your testing. Maybe you're taking a second look at that inventory that you made previously and just double checking with any losses or additions to the student body which could have occurred since then. Or maybe a shift in a grade level for somebody or something, any kind of oddity. Maybe you were checking that in March to prepare for your SAT, ACT, ASVAB. If you guys are doing the ASVAB like our previous episode talked about, maybe you're looking forward at your standardized testing in general. Make sure that all of that is well in hand, because Matt, when are you running these tests? End of March?
Yeah, well the window for the standardized testing and COGAT, Iowa testing and COGAT, there we go, is late March, early into late April, I believe. But also, another thing I was going to mention is with a lot of these standardized testings moving to digital platforms, there are some other deadlines that come up to make sure that if you're using Chromebooks, that you have all the software that you need in order for them to take that test. And so there's a lot more involved on the digital side of things, unless you're continuing as a paper and pencil test. But so there are things that if you wait too long, you might get stuck. So March is definitely that kind of end of the line right before those tests are going to be administered.
Get it taken care of. Get it going. Okay.
Yep.
Another note here. Graduation and senior activities. Yep. So we don't want what is arguably the biggest academic celebration of your school year. You want that to go off as well as it possibly can be if you have a graduating class, if your school goes to 12th grade, or even if you go to 8th grade and you celebrate that 8th grade class, or even if it's just a K-5 class, and that's those graduations need to be big deals. So whatever you do to prepare for graduation, if you're going to make sure for the seniors, make sure that they have, and hopefully this is being done before as well, but their diplomas are in order so you can see their credits, their transcripts look right. To have those nice diplomas handed to them on the stage, or perhaps a plan in place to give them something fake on the stage, and then when it's the summertime, credit recovery occurs. You're having that conversation with parents at this point. Definitely, you want them to know. Making sure that if you are going to change anything with the regalia that your faculty or staff do or don't wear, or what the students wear, that all that's coming in, making sure they actually have what they need as far as color-wise and things like that. If shipping for whatever reason becomes an issue, making sure you have it well in hand, or that if you rely on the students to order all of that they've already made their orders. Keeping all of that in line, of course, is a big deal. If there is if your school doesn't have a history of helping parents out when it comes to what do I expect with my student in their spring of their senior year, what should they be looking for as far as college or career, or what should I have them preparing for? Maybe that's a workshop that you have planned. I know a couple of the people who comment on this timeline with us, they comment this is something that they do. Make sure that, or I don't say make sure, but perhaps a shadow day is in line for your seniors. Remember, at least in the state of Maryland, seniors get something like 3 days excused from school to go and to actually visit college campuses. If they're going to go and see a career, they're going to shadow a career, and you're going to give them exceptions for that. Just making sure those things are in line, or if you're going to plan that, maybe you plan that for March. March is a good time to have them consider those things. And then a senior trip. Senior trip. What a blessing. But if you do have a senior trip in mind, and the families, of course, need to know the ins and outs of it completely, as well as the students. We need to know where the money's coming from. If the money is there, are we curtailing some part of the senior trip because they didn't raise enough money, or anything else like that? Those things probably, if they're not done by this point, maybe we're looking at, okay, we're not doing those this year, or something along those lines.
That'd still be a little late to be doing that.
Oh, right. March is, that's a late time. And for some senior trips, I remember some senior trips, they're actually taking them well before May. May and June. They are in April, and I imagine some even go crazy and do it some other times. All right, I ran through those, Matt. Anything to finish off with that?
No, that's, again, when I think of graduation, you are either starting off their schooling career with kindergarten, or even with 8th grade with high school, or you are, as we call it, commencement, starting off their post-high school career. So you don't want it to end with a, like, well, that was disappointing, So you want to make sure that it is always very forward-looking, and helping your seniors especially along the way is really helpful. Now, granted, schools like ours, we have had very small senior classes, and so even when it comes to like graduation time, where we're rehearsing and all that kind of stuff, I've talked with seniors so much that by the time it actually shows up, they're like, "Yeah, we already know what we're doing," and that's what you want.
Absolutely,
you want to make sure that they are well aware of everything, including the trip and everything else, that it can just go off without a hitch. So the more you can talk at this point in time, it's going to help later on. All right, the next point, the next issue we're going to look at is re-registration and enrollment. And I know last month we did talk about that you probably have not only got that out, but maybe even starting to process them all. But March is definitely the time where you want to follow up with any straggling families where maybe they haven't re-enrolled yet and you still haven't really heard as to why they're not registering for the next school year. So you want to make sure you're having those conversations and working with them.
We imagine that those families are like the last ones, because there's probably some kind of deal if they re-register by so-and-so, they save money. If they bring somebody else in with them, they're going to save money. We're imagining that the families in March who have still not done this, either they're not coming back and you need to verify, you maybe want to verify that, or that they really are just the ones that we all have, that they just take forever to do things. So
and
really,
and
this
there's
is only the
lots of
stragglers
reasons
we're
for
talking
that.
about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then along with that, because we're registering or processing registration, we want to make sure that if you have an admissions team, that you are sure where everybody is in their admissions process. I'm sure you're going to be setting up interviews, maybe even beginning interviews for new enrollments, or perhaps even those re-enrollments that require a new interview.
Sure.
So you want to make sure that you're prepared for those.
Or the ones that are going to be affected by some kind of discipline or summertime recovery. Make sure you're having those conversations early on, and so that they're well aware as well that their admission is going to be contingent on XYZ.
Yeah, and then this would also be the time where we are communicating other details that would be coming up. I know for us, like even in the summertime, we will have new students come in for placement testing, and so you want to make sure that those parents are aware. I mean, I talk about it in the interview as well. That's kind of the one place I'm sure parents know they heard this.
Yeah.
But we're also sending them out a packet of what to expect, what's coming up, perhaps even some events towards the end of the year that they could come out and see, and maybe even look forward to as if they get to come to our school the next year. So making sure that kind of information is going out. And this is also a good time because, as you said at the beginning of this episode, March is kind of that last month where it's not crazy busy. So we can kind of be focused on the here and now, but that also gives us a little bit of time to prepare, like for things that happen in the summertime. And rather than us taking the time at that point to get stuff out, we could create, when our tuition starts getting collected for the next school year, when that email blast needs to go out, we can start creating those kind of things and get those set up so that during those busier times, we aren't as bogged down.
Absolutely. If I'm going to jump ahead to the budget and resource planning, this is an easy one. We're probably not actually setting up any kind of budget in March, but you better make sure that you are still tracking what the budget was from the previous or the school year you're in, and looking forward to doing a little bit of forecasting, consulting with the different department heads, or just consulting with yourself to make sure you know what's going on. And then whatever is going to be upgraded in the summertime, whether that be technology or if you're going to be doing building maintenance, your facilities guy or gal, making sure that you're working with them. Again, this is kind of just an eyes-on time. You're writing things down. You're writing down those ideas that you might have for what's coming up, but it's not necessarily the time we have to focus on that completely. So then we bump forward to events and activities. And again, just for sake of time here, we're going to say you probably got spring events going on during March. Make sure those events are well in hand and that they're covered well. This is also the time when we would see probably state competitions begin or be in process. So make sure that your fine arts directors or those involved with those competitions, be they fine arts or academic, your athletic competitions are moving, and they've by the end of February, by February basketball is winding down. Maybe it's going into March for most of us, but we're definitely getting ready for our last sports seasons in that time, maybe even starting up those last sports seasons, just depending on where you are and that sort of thing. So keep in line with the athletic director or yourself, again, if that's you. Make sure that you are looking at what they need. They're checking everything, digging out the uniforms, making sure there's no, the mice didn't get to them or whatnot. And any kind of something else here, any kind of year-end rewards trips or year-end rewards days or weeks even, whatever that you gave away early on at the start of the year and you need to actually come through on that promise now, make sure that's in line and that's ready
Yeah.
to go, especially because we don't want to add to May and June. We don't want to add to those calendars. The last thing I'd throw up for this before Matt can say something about it would be, if you have clubs on your campus, make sure that this is the time that you're getting around and seeing those after school clubs or different clubs as the administrator. Don't let it be said that you never showed face. And if you don't show face now, you might lose the opportunity by the end of the year. So maybe take the time, which is March, to go ahead and step foot in those clubs, step foot in those practices. Hey, go to your teams and make sure you've seen a practice.
Right.
Make sure this is the time for that.
Yeah. Man, I really do need to show up at some basketball things here and there. I mean, that is a rebuke. Especially since I'm the coach. But
yeah, I can't do it. You can't be there enough. At least the other side.
But
Matt,
no, I think that's a huge point though, because I know I've been to sporting events or other events, and I'm looking around for the administrator, and I don't see them, and it's like, and granted, I'm only at one, so, but I think if I notice as a visitor that the administrator isn't there, I'm assuming the students are also very much aware of that, and the parents are very much aware of that. So I think it's a great point to throw in, that I know we're busy, and it's really easy for some events, certain events. For me, I'll just put it all out there. The Princess Tea, I don't show up at the Princess Tea. Okay, it's
a crazy mess, folks.
I avoid it like the plague. And you can ask my teachers. It's because I don't have many phobias in life, but when you start throwing glitter around, I'm gone. So there might be those things, but we need to make sure we are taking that effort in making our presence known, and if as much as we can get involved, I mean that also goes a long way.
Absolutely. Listen up. The last thing we got to hit, we got to keep rolling. Professional Development Administration. If you have a PD day in March, if you have a just general your usual meeting time, make sure you're ready for those, that you're not wasting the time of your teachers and admin. But then make sure you're attending the Max Administrator Retreat. Promotion.
There it is.
This year,
we
especially March 24th, make sure you're coming out to visit us in Harford County, Maryland on March 24th as we host the Maryland Association of Christian Schools Administrators Retreat. It's a roundtable. It's fun. You're going to want to be there. You don't want to miss it. Be encouraged. Come out and play. Talk about your team. Teamwork makes the dream work is the theme. We got great speakers. We're excited. We're excited for that.
And if you can't make it out to our administrator retreat, jump onto Herzog and find some other professional development there, because I just love scrolling through their different events, and
so much going on with
Herzog.
Herzog.
There's a ton of stuff. So, if nothing else, if you don't have anything else on the calendar for March for professional development, I would really encourage you to jump in onto their professional development workshops. There might be one that's virtual. I was just in one not too long ago. It was really helpful. So
I'm glad to hear that you're getting help, Matt. You need that.
I do. I need a lot of help.
All right. Who's our Christian Administrator Spotlight going to, Matt?
It is Mr. Matt Ashley.
Matt Ashley of Colonial Christian School in Indianapolis. This is, I believe, the last of our admin who are getting the spotlight there at Colonial Christian Hill. They didn't do anything for us. We just saw their team, and I was just really impressed with their team. So we just went bam, 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 bam. And the reason I want to focus on Matt Ashley is he is, first of all, one of the minority of elementary male teachers, elementary male homeroom teachers. Right. So awesome there. 5th grade teacher. I remember my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Jim Peretti. Massive impact on my life in a positive manner. I remember Mr. Merritt Price, long time combined classroom at 5th and 6th grade there at Faith Baptist School in Salisbury. So Matt Ashley doing the Lord's work in 5th grade and being the elementary super as well. So he is one who has taken his full-time role and added another possibly full-time role to it. So he needs prayer right now. Matt, you've been praying for him recently. I want to pray for him this time.
You got it.
Because I'm just feeling this one for Matt. Father in heaven, we know Matt has taken on a lot of responsibility there at Colonial Christian in Indy. Give him the grace to not only be the best homeroom teacher he can be for all of his students, but also strength through you to make sure that he leads the elementary, or at least supervises them effectively, and give his administration the understanding that he could use. Of course, I know they know he could use more time, but maybe even this week, have one of the administration give him another bit of time he didn't think he was going to have to accomplish something that he needed to accomplish to further your purposes there at Colonial. And we will thank you for it, because we know you are a good, loving God. You are the great Father who sees our needs, knows our needs better than we ever could. If a sparrow falls if a sparrow falls with your knowledge, how much more are we going to have the good Father who wants us to reach out to him in prayer to see what he could give us to make our lives here that much stronger in him. We thank you for it. Amen.
Amen. Thank
All
you,
right.
Matt. And we are at the end of our second episode on reviewing these months. And I know we're not going to hit everything, and you might want to chime in on some things. Hey, you guys should think about this for that month. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to add it to our list. But we're looking forward to years to come where we can just sit down and say, okay, March is coming up. Let's listen to the Christian Principles podcast so I make sure I don't miss anything.
That would be awesome. All right. Well, thanks for growing with us today.
Could we ask you a favor? Please help us grow our channel by clicking on the plus follow button at the top of the screen on Apple Podcasts, or the follow button on the main podcast page on Spotify. Taking this step helps boost our ratings, but more importantly, gets us in more Christian school admins' ears. Also, it'll keep our latest content in your feed. This little action could help us take this podcast a long way.